the very problem you're just raising, Caitlin, is the people you named are both federally charged and they're being charged in Georgia as well. That's the sort of thing during Watergate that was worked out in advance. So I think I understand why Fani did not want to address whether she'd talked to Jack Smith or not, because I think they're in conversation right now because they are stepping on each other's toes.
This is a really unusual situation where you have federal and state prosecutors looking at the same course of conduct, potentially the same targets at the same time. Usually in the beginning of an investigation, there's sort of this David and Goliath turf battle that will happen with federal and state prosecutors, where a lot of times the federal prosecutors will say, well, come on, be a special prosecutor on our case. You can be a part of it. You can maybe delay your case or shut it down entirely. But that didn't happen here because Fani Willis got to work, rolled up her sleeves in the beginning, and DOJ did not. I mean, where DOJ initially was fearful, Fani Willis was fearless. And so she built this investigation for 2 years. The worst thing that Donald Trump could have done was announce his candidacy when he did, because that led to Jack Smith being appointed as special counsel. And he has been investigating with gusto, and it seems like he's caught up to her. So now they're both racing to the finish line here. And, you know, they are looking at a lot of the same witnesses. And what prosecutor wants other teams of investigators and prosecutors questioning their witnesses without knowing what they're saying? They don't, right? So there has to be some coordination. If you bring in, for example, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, you're going to want to know what he said to Fani Willis first before you, Jack Smith, put him into a grand jury. You want to make sure there's consistency, and if there are inconsistencies, that you're picking up on those and following up. You want to understand what the impressions of different people in the room are. So of their credibility. So I think, you know, it is a tough situation. It's a delicate situation, but I believe that they must be communicating. They must be sharing some information where they are looking at the same kinds of witnesses and documents as they get to these final stages.
To a lot of our viewers, they might say, that's great. There's going to be these two cases dealing with the same stuff. Someone's going to get Donald Trump. Is there, if you're Jack Smith, is there something you're worried about here, that I don't want these two cases moving forward at the same time?
Well, Christy's point is that you definitely have to coordinate. I mean, just to take another example, if you have a victim, you really don't want to put them through this process twice. You want to do it once out of a real courtesy. You don't want to re-victimize them. But the reason that this, although it is, I agree with Christy, an unusual case, the reason there is a legal reason to do this is those state charges, even though I think they will be a subset of the federal charges, those can stick if there is a federal pardon, or if somebody just tells the federal case, we're going away. In other words, any Republican who wins the presidency can tell the Department of Justice, drop all federal cases. You don't even have to go to the pardon route. They can just tell the Attorney General to stop. That does not apply to state charges. So by having these two, you do have that ability to hold somebody to account.
So now the liberals are saying, hey, it's okay if Fani Willis is cooperating or coordinating or, in reality, colluding with Jack Smith. They just don't want to step on each other's toes. Of course they're cooperating, really colluding. But here's a big problem for Fani Willis and probably also maybe Jack Smith and at least the Fulton County case, because on July 31st, in this WABE news article, that's WABE is the NPR and PBS affiliate in Atlanta, Fani Willis strongly denied that she's had any communication, any coordination with Jack Smith whatsoever. In fact, you can see it here in the headline. Fulton DA says she's not coordinating with special counsel Jack Smith. So let's take a look at what at her quote. Here we go. Willis says the two investigations have not coordinated. Got that? Have not coordinated. Here's the quote. I don't know what Jack Smith is doing, and Jack Smith doesn't know what I'm doing, Willis told WABE in a Saturday interview. In all honesty, if Jack Smith was standing next to me, I'm not sure I would know who he was. My guess is he probably can't pronounce my name correctly. So that probably explains why in a time since she realized, uh-oh, I already denied vociferously that I even know Jack Smith. And so when that question came up right after, a couple of weeks later at our press conference, right after the indictments were announced in Fulton County, when she was asked about that, if she was colluding with or coordinating with Jack Smith, she clammed up. She wouldn't answer the question. Take a look.
Have you had any contact with the special counsel about overlap between these cases, and do you intend to try all of these defendants together?
Do I intend to try the 19 defendants in this indictment together? Yes.
And have you had any contact with the special counsel about the overlap between this indictment and the federal indictment?
I'm not going to discuss our investigation at this time.
It's much bigger than Watergate. It's much bigger than Watergate.